Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. Stay with me. This story isn't about heartbreak. It's about the moment silence said more than any scream ever could. The kiss still lingered on my lips when I pressed play. It wasn't a long kiss, just a quick one, light, like she was checking off a box. But I felt it, or maybe I felt what it lacked. You know how sometimes a person touches you, but you can tell they're touching someone else in their head? That kind of kiss. Anyway, the recording was still syncing. The irony? I didn't mean to record anything. That app was from last winter when I was trying to learn guitar. I hadn't touched it in months, but she had borrowed my car that night, and apparently when her phone connected to the stereo, the app launched. Automatically, quietly. She didn't know it had happened. Neither did I. Not until I opened my laptop to email a PDF and saw the file sitting there. 42 minutes long. No title. Just a timestamp. I clicked it like an idiot. First it was static. Then car sounds. Street noise. Laughter. Hers. Then another voice. Male. Low. Too comfortable. Him. You sure he buys it? Her. Laughing. He'd believe I was abducted by aliens if I told him sweetly enough. Him. Don't tempt me. I paused it. My chest tightened in that dumb, dramatic way I always mocked in movies. But it wasn't even the words. It was how she said them, relaxed, like someone far from consequences. Like someone already gone. She had just walked into our apartment 20 minutes earlier. She was humming. She was barefoot. She was opening a bag of kettle chips and tossing her shoes near the door like nothing mattered. She had kissed me like she was returning from yoga class. But now I was sitting at the kitchen table, our kitchen table, listening to her laugh in a way I hadn't heard in months. And it wasn't with me. I skipped ahead. And then I stopped breathing. Her voice. Wait. Someone might see. Him. So? Let them. Her. No, just kiss me fast. Then drop me at Althea's. Fast forward 5 seconds. Sloppy kissing. A zipper sound. Whispered giggles. My throat burned. I closed the laptop like that would stop it from being real. Like shutting a screen would reverse what I'd heard. She was in the shower now, probably scrubbing off the evidence. Or maybe just the guilt, though she never seemed to carry much of that. But I sat there, still, heart thudding, ears ringing. My fiancée had just kissed me, but now I knew someone else had kissed her first. And I hadn't even heard the worst part yet. She came out of the shower humming. Her damp hair tied into that careless bun she always did when she was relaxed. I sat there at the kitchen table, frozen. My cereal had gone soggy, and I hadn't taken a single bite. The laptop was still open in front of me, paused mid-recording. I hadn't even turned the screen away. I wanted to. I should have. But some part of me, the part that still hoped I had misunderstood, kept me there, staring at the waveform on the screen, cursor blinking like a heartbeat. She didn't notice me at first. She walked past me in her towel, opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of almond milk, and took a long sip straight from it. That used to make me smile. Now it just made me feel small, like a ghost watching a life he used to belong to. I'm thinking we do Thai tonight, she said, still facing the fridge. Or sushi. My throat was dry. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. I clicked play. It was cruel. I know that. I could have confronted her like a decent person. I could have asked, who was the guy in the car? Or where were you really last night? But I didn't. I let her hear it. The laughter came first. Hers and his, layered with that low hum of the car engine. Then his voice. He's lucky you still pretend with him. Then silence. She turned slowly. I didn't look up at her. I just stared at the screen as her voice filled the room. Her. I don't pretend. I just postpone things. I need more time. Him. You say that every time. Then you go home to your little pet. Her. Laughing softly. Stop. Don't call him that. Him. Then stop treating him like one. That's when she dropped the milk. I didn't flinch. I just kept listening. Her hand flew to her mouth. I heard her gasp in real time, and then again in the recording, like a cruel echo. Her, in the audio, he's safe. He won't leave me. He doesn't know how. Him, that's not love. That's convenience. Her, I know. She hit pause. I still hadn't looked at her. Where did you get that? She whispered. Her voice was brittle, not defensive. Just shocked. I finally looked up. She was pale. Paler than I'd ever seen her. Her fingers were trembling, and water from her hair was dripping onto the floor. Your phone, I said calmly. The car picked it up. It synced automatically. I didn't plan this. She didn't respond. She just stood there, towel clutched around her chest, as if suddenly realizing how exposed she was. Not physically, but in a way you can't cover with cotton. I stood up and walked past her. I didn't know where I was going. Maybe just out. Maybe away. Maybe nowhere. But then she grabbed my arm. I didn't mean it like that, she said quickly. You don't understand. It wasn't serious. It was just. I pulled my arm away. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said the one sentence that had been sitting in my chest all night, waiting for its moment to be heard. If I'm so safe, why do I feel like I've just been shot in my own home? And then I left. But the story wasn't over. Not even close. I didn't go far. Just down the street. I sat in my car for what felt like hours but was probably less than 30 minutes. The windows fogged up. I kept replaying that sentence in my head. He's safe. He won't leave me. He doesn't know how. Over and over. Like a mantra from hell. And the worst part? She was right. I didn't know how to leave her. Not really. I'd built my life around her like she was the foundation. And now I was standing in the rubble trying to pretend I was just cold. Not ruined. When I got back, she was sitting on the floor, knees pulled to her chest. The towel now replaced with a sweatshirt I didn't recognize. Probably his. I didn't ask. I didn't cheat, she said before I could speak. It didn't go that far. I stayed standing by the door. Felt like if I sat, I'd never get back up. So what would you call it? I asked. An emotional rehearsal? She winced. Don't be cruel, Grant. I laughed at that. Cruel? She thought I was being cruel? She stood up slowly, her voice cracking just slightly. We were drunk. I said stupid things. He flirted. I let him. That's all. I didn't sleep with him. So your defense is that you just lied about everything else? I asked, finally meeting her eyes. She crossed her arms. I was venting. I was frustrated. I didn't mean most of what I said. You know how it is when people drink and talk nonsense. No, I don't, I replied. Because when I talk about you, even at my worst, I never reduce you to a safety net. That one hit her. She turned away, pacing like she needed to walk away from herself. Then she spun back. You don't get it. You don't know what it's like to feel stuck in a perfect cage. I nodded slowly. No, but I guess I know what it's like to love someone who feels caged by me. We stood there in silence. Her face was pink from crying. Mine was probably pale from shock. I felt like I had just finished reading a novel only to find out the last chapter was torn out. Incomplete. Unfinished. But I already knew how it ended. She walked toward me, reaching for my hand. Grant, please, don't do this. Do what? I said, pulling away. Finally believe you? She froze. That's when her phone buzzed on the counter. Just one notification. But I saw it. The preview said, let me know if you're still coming by after. No name. Just that. I looked at her. She didn't even try to lie. She just closed her eyes and whispered, I was going to end it. And start what? I asked. Another lie with someone new? She didn't answer. Maybe because she didn't have one. Or maybe because she knew I wasn't asking her anymore. I was talking to myself, trying to make sense of something senseless. That night, I didn't sleep in our bed. I didn't leave either. I stayed on the couch, staring at the ceiling, listening for every sound, wondering if it was the last time I'd hear it as part of this home. In the morning, she was gone. But her phone was still there. And what I found inside it made the recording feel like a trailer before the real horror began. When I saw her phone just sitting there on the windowsill, unlocked, I knew I shouldn't touch it. I stared at it for at least 5 minutes, convincing myself I wasn't that guy. But then I remembered the recording, the smirk on the other guy's voice, the milk on the floor, her face when it played. And something in me snapped. Not in a loud, dramatic way. Quietly, like a lock clicking open after years of being sealed. I didn't go into her messages out of curiosity. I went in because I needed to stop lying to myself. I needed something undeniable. Something that would rip the last shred of hope out of me so I could finally let go. And I found it faster than I expected. It was a thread titled, "You Know Where I Live." That alone made my stomach twist. I opened it and there it was, months worth of messages. Some playful, some vague, some outright disgusting. But what stood out the most were the ones that sounded like they were written about someone else. Me in third person, as if I were some sad subplot in their twisted little series. Her. "He still makes my coffee every morning like I'm not already gone." Him. "You're lucky. I wish someone made mine." Her. "No, I'm convenient." That's different. Convenient. That word echoed again, stabbing deeper this time. I scrolled further and found pictures. A blurry one of my living room while I was asleep on the couch. A zoomed-in photo of the stir-fry I had cooked for her the night she said she had a migraine. A voice note of her laughing and saying, "He thinks I'm at yoga." I don't even remember standing up. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped the phone. I backed away from it like it was a live wire. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stood in the center of the living room and felt the weight of everything I hadn't wanted to see. She came back an hour later, holding 2 coffees like nothing happened. She saw me standing there, saw the phone still lit up on the table, and stopped cold. "You went through my phone," she said, voice low. I didn't speak. "You had no right, Grant. That was what did it. Not the cheating. Not the lies. But that." Her tone. As if I had violated something sacred by finding the truth. I finally looked at her. And for the first time, I didn't see the woman I loved. I saw someone who had studied me, learned my soft spots, and chose to weaponize them. "I didn't go through your phone," I said. "I went through the pieces of myself you left inside it." Her face dropped. She tried to respond, but I walked past her, grabbed my jacket, and left. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't be in that apartment one more second. I ended up at a 24-hour diner, sitting in a booth alone with cold eggs and lukewarm coffee. My hands still wouldn't stop shaking. I wasn't angry. Not really. I was embarrassed. Hollow. I felt like I had been the only one reading the love story while she was already halfway through a breakup novel. And just when I thought it was over, my phone buzzed. It was from her. One sentence. "You left something behind that you'll want back. Come alone." What she meant. Couldn't guess. But I was about to find out. I wish I could say I ignored her message. I wish I could say I blocked her and moved on with some shred of dignity. But no. Less than 10 minutes after reading, "You left something behind that you'll want back. Come alone." I was already pulling into the parking garage of the apartment building we once called home. My hands were sweating on the steering wheel the whole time, and I could feel my heart pounding in a way that made me nauseous. I didn't know what she meant. Maybe it was a trap to manipulate me again. Maybe it was an excuse for another performance. But some pathetic part of me, some last flicker of hope, still wanted answers. The door was unlocked. That in itself sent a message. She was always obsessive about locking up. The place was quiet. Too quiet. No TV humming. No music. Just the sound of a fan running in the hallway. I stepped inside like a guest at my own funeral. The apartment felt smaller, like the air had been sucked out of it. She wasn't in the living room. Instead, on the edge of the bed, there was a shoebox. Nothing dramatic, nothing labeled. Just a plain black box with the lid resting slightly ajar. I approached it cautiously, half expecting it to explode or burst into confetti with a gotcha. But it didn't move. I sat down beside it, took a breath, and opened it. Inside were things I'd forgotten existed. Ticket stubs from our first concert. A dried-out flower I gave her the day we moved in. A tiny note I once wrote on a sticky tab that said, "You make chaos feel safe." She had kept it all. For a moment, I felt a lump in my throat, but then I noticed something underneath. A flash drive. No label, just a matte red stick. My hands hesitated before picking it up. There was a note beneath it, handwritten on the back of a receipt. If you're going to hate me, at least know everything first. I nearly left right then. I should have. But again, curiosity overruled caution. I slipped the flash drive into my pocket and turned to leave. That's when she stepped into the doorway. No makeup, hair tied back, wearing the hoodie I gave her on our last anniversary. You weren't supposed to find the audio, she said. Her voice wasn't angry. It wasn't even sad. It was empty. I stayed silent. There was nothing to say that hadn't already been said or heard. You're going to watch what's on that, and you're going to think I'm evil, she added. But I didn't plan any of this. I swear it just spiraled. I looked at her and asked the one question that had been circling in my brain since this entire thing started. Why him? She blinked, stunned by the simplicity of it. Then she said the most devastating thing I've ever heard. Because with him, I don't feel like I owe anything. With you, I always felt like I owed you my best. And I stopped being my best a long time ago. I left without another word. I didn't go home. I drove straight to a motel, closed the blinds, and stared at the flash drive on the desk like it was radioactive. Took me 2 hours to build up the nerve. And when I finally opened the files, everything I thought I knew about her, about us, collapsed completely. I plugged the flash drive into my laptop like it might bite me. The room was silent except for the humming of the AC unit mounted to the wall. I didn't open the files right away. I just stared at the folder titled, For You, sitting on the desktop like it was mocking me. My thumb hovered over the trackpad for a long time before I finally clicked. Inside were 6 video files. No names, no context, just dates. The earliest was from 5 months ago. I played that one first. The camera was shaky, handheld. The angle was crooked at first, pointing toward a bedroom mirror. Brenna walked into the frame, laughing, fixing her hair. Someone behind the camera, his voice, told her to act natural. She stuck her tongue out and called him an idiot. Then she said, "This one's for future me when I finally grow up." They both laughed like it was a game. The rest of the video? Just them lying on the bed, talking, teasing, her telling him things I didn't know. About her job, about her family, about me. She said I was too good and too clean, like I was a vacuum-sealed version of a real man, that I was safe but boring, that sometimes she felt like I was just there to clap for her victories, not to challenge her. She said I never made her feel unpredictable. That hurt in a way I didn't expect, because I thought support was love. I thought being steady, loyal, and kind mattered. But apparently that had made me disposable. The second video was worse. It was taken in my car, the same one I'd just driven to the motel. She was in the passenger seat, wearing my hoodie, laughing about how she hated how good it smelled. Then she looked right at the camera and said, "He always makes everything so easy. I could disappear for a week and he'd still say welcome back." She wasn't lying. I probably would have. I watched all the clips, even though each one chipped away at what little I had left. In the 4th video, she was drunk, slurring that she wanted to freeze time and stay in that moment forever. In the 5th, she filmed herself sneaking out of our apartment while I was in the shower, giggling at the camera like she was escaping a boring sitcom. But the sixth video changed everything. It was recorded only a week ago. Brenna sat on our bed alone, looking straight into the lens. No makeup, no filter. She looked exhausted. Her voice cracked before she even spoke. "If you're watching this, then I guess it all came out. I know I screwed everything up. I know I'll never be able to explain it in a way that makes sense. But I want to say something anyway, not because I expect forgiveness, but because I need you to know this was never about you not being enough. It was me. I was never enough. I just didn't want you to see that." She took a deep breath, wiping her eyes. "I hated how you looked at me like I was the best thing that ever happened to you, because deep down I knew I didn't deserve it. And every time I cheated, every time I lied, it was like I was trying to destroy the illusion before you realized I wasn't worth the love you gave." Then she ended the recording, just like that, I sat there in that cheap motel room for over an hour, staring at the black screen. Her words twisted around my insides like a slow, cold knot. She wasn't trying to justify what she did. She was just confessing like it was a letter to a grave. And somehow that made it worse. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. I just kept asking myself the same question. If someone knows they're broken, why do they keep cutting the only person who ever tried to hold them together? The next morning, I woke up still fully dressed, slumped in a crooked position on the motel bed. My neck ached, and my mouth tasted like dust and regret. The flash drive was still sitting on the desk like it hadn't just destroyed the version of reality I'd built my life around. I stared at it, half hoping it would burst into flames or vanish on its own. Like maybe if it disappeared, everything I saw would too. I wanted to disappear, not out of drama, not out of pain, but out of sheer exhaustion. I was tired of being the man who always showed up. The man who remembered anniversaries, who triple-checked the locks, who called her mom when Brenna forgot. And yet, I was the one sitting in a motel room, blinking away the sunlight like some deranged ghost of a relationship that had already ended months ago. I just didn't know it yet. That morning, I got a text from her. Just one line. Please come to dinner. 7 p.m. Just talk to me. She sent the address of a restaurant we'd gone to on our second anniversary. The kind with cloth napkins and fake candlelight. The kind where people propose. For the next 8 hours, I paced the room like a prisoner with a sentence he couldn't read. Should I go? Should I answer? Should I delete her number and never speak her name again? But curiosity is a parasite. It doesn't just knock. It settles in your bloodstream and makes decisions for you. At 6:45, I found myself in the parking lot, hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. I stared at the entrance of the restaurant, watching couples walk in laughing, fixing each other's collars and holding hands like nothing in the world could shatter them. At 6:58, I stepped out of the car. She wasn't there yet. At 7:03, I walked inside and gave her name. The host smiled and led me to a small table in the corner, already set for two. A bottle of sparkling water waited in a bucket beside it. I sat down, waited. By 7:20, I checked the door 5 times. By 7:35, I stopped looking. At 7:42, I got another text. I can't face you. I thought I could, but I can't. I'm sorry. I stared at the screen for a long time before I stood up. I didn't touch the water, didn't say anything to the host. I just walked out like a man who didn't belong anywhere anymore. The kind of man people look at and say, he must have been stood up. And they're right. Except I wasn't just stood up for dinner. I was stood up for closure, for decency, for one final shred of respect that I'd somehow convinced myself she might still offer. When I got back to the motel, there was a box outside my door. No name, no note, just sealed tight. Inside were my things. My spare keys, my old hoodie, the charger I'd left plugged in behind the couch. All of it placed so neatly it felt surgical, as if she'd performed some quiet little operation to remove me from her world. But tucked in between it all, there was a photo, one we'd taken at the pumpkin patch last fall. I was holding her hand. She was smiling. And behind the photo, she'd scribbled 3 words. I broke us. She was right. She did. But the worst part? I helped. I didn't cry when I read the note. I didn't throw the box or burn the photo. I just sat on the edge of the motel bed, turning those 3 words over and over in my head like a coin. I broke us. The thing is, I think I'd already known. Long before the recording. Long before the flash drive. Even before the kiss that started it all. I was just too afraid to admit it. But something shifted in me that night. I didn't want to be the man waiting at tables anymore, hoping for closure from someone who never really gave me the full version of herself. I didn't want to be the guy who loved louder than he was loved in return. I was done being safe. Not because there's anything wrong with being steady or kind, but because I finally realized those things should be valued, not taken for granted. The next morning, I packed my things. I didn't go back to the apartment. I had already signed a lease for a small studio closer to my office. A space that wasn't haunted by her laugh or her lies. I painted the walls. bought new mugs, hung up a map I'd always wanted but she said looked too lonely. Now it looked like freedom. A week later, I signed up for a storytelling workshop. One of those groups where strangers sit in a circle and talk about what broke them and what they built afterward. I didn't talk at first, but when I finally did, I told them everything. Not for revenge, not for pity, but to remind myself that pain doesn't have to end in bitterness. It can be the start of something much better. It's strange how life works. 2 months after that, someone in that group, Eliza, asked me if I wanted to get coffee after the session. She didn't flirt. She didn't play games. She just asked. And I said yes. We're not rushing anything. No grand declarations. No illusions. Just 2 people showing up honestly. And that's already more than I had before. So if you're listening to this and you've been where I was, stuck, heartbroken, ashamed, please believe me when I say this. One person's betrayal is not your identity. You are not broken. You are not foolish for loving deeply. You're just someone who gave everything to the wrong person, and that is not your fault. I stopped waiting for apologies, and I started living. Thanks for staying through the end of my story here on Reddit Confessions. If you've ever had a turning point that changed your life completely, tell us in the comments. What moment made you see yourself or your path differently? We'd love to hear your story too. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who might need to hear it today.